Hello, we've gathered here today to discuss the impact of media on teenagers. Now, it's not just the teenagers who are influenced by the strong bombardment of all kinds of media on them, it's also parents, teachers, schools who are facing the brunt, who are having to cope with the bombardment. So, we have a lot of people here who are going to introduce themselves first.
I'm Mrs. Nitika. I'm a teacher as well as a parent of a teenager.
Well, I'm Mrs. Vasusena. I'm a teacher and also a parent.
I'm Mrs. Neha Batish. I'm a teacher teaching teenage students.
Now, our first question today is, what is media? Is it only television, films, or is it also going beyond that? The internet has taken on the lives of our teenagers to a great extent. So, what all is media for you and your children?
Okay, as a mother of a teenage boy and a teacher teaching classes 11 and 12, I see media is in their lives, and in the form of television, in the form of internet, radio. They're listening to FM all the time. So constantly they are bombarded with messages, information and images, you know, which they ingrain, and they want to be like those people and do what they see other people doing.
These days, the media has great impact on children, the two adolescents, and they want to imitate the icons, those Kareena Kapoor, and and also they want to follow them, and they want to use those branded things, and also they want to look like them. So this is and also this is one side, that is electronic media's impact, and another side, the cyber media is also there, and it is actually taking every child who are from conservative families also taking into its stride, and it is actually every adolescent want to open their account in Facebook and Twitter and all this, and so it's sometimes it may be harmful also, the two for girls. So boys, it may be any side in our society now. Girls are facing problems, and when their photos are there in the Facebook and websites are seen, then they may be misused. So that kind of insecurity is also there due to this cyber media, and also they want to wear, they want to follow in dress code and all that, the icons, their icons. So this is the how it is impacting, and it is only very little percent good things we are getting, and many bad things are happening.
Little good things and many bad things. Neha, would you agree with that, or would you like to disagree? What's your viewpoint?
See, this is a stage of information technology. We can say information explosion. So you cannot restrict your children to certain extent that this is the information you should not see, you should see. Nowadays, see the information they are having. See the positive side. Sometimes the students are, or the children, they are much more informative. They have more information even than their parents, or I can say sometimes they go beyond the teachers also. They come up with so much of examples and the latest news, everything. So we should see the positive side. But yes, we should direct them in the right direction. The thing is that we cannot stop, and we should not stop them saying this is the wrong thing, you should not do. We should give the right reason to them, explain things, why they should not move. They are quite, you know, nowadays children are very smart. You should not tell them this is the wrong thing, because information is required in nowadays life. In recent years, you have seen how everything is electronic. So you cannot restrict your child in a, you know, four-wall boundary and just study with the books and all. You cannot do that. They have to have an exposure. Just need a guidance, proper guidance.
Like Vasu said, she's talking about the bombardment of the information, all that they are incorporating because of that, and she says it clashes with the Indian culture. What would you say to this, Nitika?
See, a clash of the culture, or let's say generation gap, has always existed. I remember when I was in college, I wanted to dress up in a certain way because I saw the heroes and heroines dressed up that way, and my parents had an objection to it. So that would always be there. But the total, the amount of exposure that was there in our times has increased many-fold, and that is what, as a parent and as a teacher, I'm concerned about, because in fact, let's say most of it is not something that they can decipher or they can think whether it's right or wrong for them. So maybe we as teachers and as parents have to act as guide.
I think, aren't we also underestimating the capacity of our teenagers when we say they don't know the direction? We cannot stop them from being exposed to all that media. That's a taken. We take it for granted. We cannot stop them. What is the way out? You say we can give them a direction. What is that direction? Vasu, would you like to say something?
Yes, ma'am. They must be conscience stricken, and that can be done by both the teachers and parents. And also, when it comes to the any field, it is advantages would be there, defects and all would be there. So understanding them, and first for parents, and then conveying those things to the children, like that they can, but they should not be misuse of any kind of media, any kind of things. So here we are actually we want to direct the children, as Neha told, in all these conditions, but we have to check that before that time comes, that before we direct them, it happens, everything happens, and it closes upon us. So that is why here good thing that to direct them, and at the same time they should have some limitations for that.
I'd like to add on to what Vam just said. See, what happens is that you know, whatever they're doing now is somehow also harming their bodies. They want to be thinner because they have seen a certain actress in that size. They want to have spikes, and they use gel, which they know and we know that would harm them, and they want to tattoo their arms because it looks in, but we know the effects of tattooing. It's there in the papers. So
now that you've mentioned it, Nitika, can you list 3 concrete things that teenagers today think are cool?
They want to be size 0, they want to be thin, but now since Kareena has just declared that she doesn't want to be size 0, maybe now they'll have a little more voluptuous
So one
figure.
is size 0.
Okay.
Second is,
they want to have the hairstyle supported by sported by the heroines in television and you know the movies, and therefore you have all girls looking alike. You can't distinguish one from the other. They all look like photocopies of each other.
So second is the hair.
Yeah.
Like third would be?
Third would be let's say the clothes, even, you know,
Yes.
they are bought from the same place. We wanted to be different, so we went to Janpat and we got different kinds of skirts, but they all look the same because they buy from the same Adidas, Nike. So the brand consciousness has increased many-fold.
Right. Now,
And
Neha,
about
1
the-
minute. Neha, would you like to comment on
everybody
it's being right or wrong? Would you say it's right or it's wrong, or what's your take on this?
Yes. I think it's a dream for everybody to look good and beautiful. So I cannot say only teenagers are the people. Look at the girls, even ladies who are beyond 40s or 50s, they are going to gyms wearing jeans and tight tops and everything they are doing. So why you are focusing on teenagers?
Right. Now, where we started was the impact of media on teenagers. Now, is there a balancing act that can be put into action? What is your secret recipe for solving this problem? You said you're a mother, you're a teacher. What is your way out when your son is aping the larger than life picture? What is it that you try? What works and what doesn't work?
See, a discussion, I think, is the only way out.
Right.
You cannot force them the way our parents were not able to force us. So we can only discuss things with them, put things on a platter, and then ask them, maybe hope that they make the right choice. You know, that's the only way out.
In this regard, I want to tell one thing. The shampoos now, how many branded shampoos are flooding the market. So what happens there? All the teenagers, the below 15 especially, they want to apply the shampoos on their head, and always wash with the shampoos and no other type of traditional things. So what happens with them, let's say how they actually testing each other's
and they're emptying
hair,
their
how
parents,
glossy your
so
hair
they're
is,
emptying
how
their parents'
glossy.
pockets, buying every possible advertised
That is also there,
product,
not emptying pockets only, but it happens that how glossy it is, they are looking at the hair.
Right.
So that may be harmful in over the time. They may get harmful effects of those they have to experience in their future. So
Okay, so we see that, yes, Neha, what would you like to say?
I just want to say that if you want to basically don't label them as a teenager, try to understand them as an individual. There's always a reason behind their acts, why he wants that brand only, why he wants to that shampoo only, why he is doing this, and there is always a reason. Go to that reason and try to find it, you'll get the solution.
So you're trying to say that the teenagers are only trying to assert their individuality, their distinctness, which they need to be.
They want to be identified as an individual. So we should try to understand as an individual, not like you're a part of teenage and you are doing this because everybody does that. Don't do that.
Right. So are we only criticizing the media, or are we also suggesting that media can take on a positive role in this regard as well?
Yes, it can.
And what are the ways in which the media can take on a positive direction?
Now we have so many programs as such that so many counselors and dietitians are coming up with their suggestions. So we have to increase the number of those things equal to the advertisements, so that children will come to the bad effects of all these things, and also they will come to know, and also they implement in their life.
No, it's very difficult to make children read and see programs which they don't want to watch. Okay, it's very difficult. Let's make them realize it themselves, make them read about those things. If you think that they will not watch a certain serial on television and they would watch a discussion like ours and think that they are learning from it, then I think we are absolutely in the dark about what children
So if you're only living in a fool's paradise thinking children will be watching counseling sessions on television, or what is the other way? If you talk about hero worship, products advertised by, say, their role models, what would you suggest? Does the media have a responsibility? And what is that responsibility? Self-check. Is there some kind of a self-check that the media can exercise?
Definitely media can exercise that, but we should also remember that they are actually marketing products. They are selling programs, they are selling products, and that is how they earn their living. And as parents, I think we owe a greater responsibility in helping the children make a better choice, as to what they should buy, making them a better conscientious buyers. That is what should be our aim as parents and as teachers. Instead of, just blaming the media and saying they are responsible for everything. Yes, there are certain things which are bad. Our children are imbibing bad things, but then we have to somehow be their guardian. We have to ensure that whatever they are learning, they are seeing things but imbibing the best out of whatever they are getting.
Okay, imbibing the best. What do you say, Neha, to this?
I agree.
Do you
to
think,
totally.
like Neetika just said, imbibing the bad things, would you really let that label bad stick there?
I don't think there's a good or bad thing. I'd just like to point out one thing. She says media is selling all the stuff. One thing we should keep in mind, media is catering to different sections of the society. One thing which is expensive for you may not be expensive for the other section. So they have to cater to each and every section. That's why they are selling each and every type of product. Again, I am referring to her. She was very right to say that they should be very rational consumers. We have to act as a very rational consumer. We have to make up our own choice depending upon our needs and wants. So child should be able to identify the needs and wants, and we should help him to do that and go to the right product.
Another thing which I'd like to point out is a program which the child sees, watches and would like to see depends largely on what the parents are seeing.
Yes.
So if I am as a parent watching serials all the time, I mean that is what my child would also do.
Isn't it also peer pressure that leads to
definitely
doing or
also
watching something? Yeah?
Definitely, they will catch from the peers more than they do from parents or teachers.
Before we finish, I think we'd also like to talk about social networking sites? Does that media have any impact on your teenage children's or students' lives? Does it steal away some of their social qualities or the emotional quotient? Do you see them lagging behind in that area of social and emotional skills in any way?
At least just like to, one of my students, you know, one day said, "Ma'am, are you on the Facebook?" I said, "Yes, but not for students." And I then happened to ask him, "How many friends do you have?" He said 180. Very proudly he said 180 friends. I said, "Fine, but tell me, how many friends did you call for your birthday?" He said 2. So I mean, that is something that is, you know, we should question. You know, the real friends are those 2. And but does he actually in real life interact with those 180 students he said are his friends? And what kind of friends are they? You know, this is what. So maybe the child is unable to communicate with all 180 of those, but he claims a tall claim of having 180, 200, even 500 friends.
And also they are encouraged by their peer group and school, they discuss so many things in their groups, and they want to just imitate them and the other what they are doing, and also they come to home and they want to do all these things, and after that, you know, what the utility, actually the purpose of utility is very less. And that is what they have to check that one first, and then they have to do. And also it is actually when the language is when the language is actually good and all that, then they can use it. And after that, what happens, you know, it's crossing its limits, then they are using the casual way, bringing that language into their writings and all that, sending emails. So this is where it happens. It is a degrading of again the values and all that. But right. They have to, parents have to check, and the teachers also at the same time.
What is the check that you recommend?
Yeah, we have to sit with our children, and then what they are doing, we have to watch.
Neha, what do you say? Do you think this, you'd like to say something on this virtual
Yes, obviously
media?
she is right to say that we should keep a check. And one more thing the parents can do, they should start spending quality time with their children. There won't be any need to use these sites and computers. What the children take computer as a substitute or alternative for their parents, because the parents are not available. So now they have started using internet, and now they don't want any of their parents with them because they become so habitual of them. So what I would suggest, that go on for picnics and go on for at least a walk with the child, go and discuss something, play something, if you really want your child to divert from that internet or those Facebook.
One last comment I'd like from each one of you, one last comment on what is your final statement about the solution. The media is here to stay. You cannot chuck it out of your lives. Now that it is this, is it only a negative, or can it be turned into a positive?
I think it's a love-hate relationship. We love it and we hate it, but we have to learn to use it as a tool. You know, take it in our stride and learn to use it as a tool. That's it.
Yes, ma'am, it is it's there in our hands, and we have to manage it, and also we have to teach our children how to manage it.
The teenagers should be, you know, they should get support from their parents, their family and their other relatives and all. So as to, and the guidance also, how to use the internet and other medias properly. So I think it is a good thing if they are going to use it for a good cause, obviously. And as she has told us, it's a good love and hate thing. She is very right to say.
So with this love-hate relationship, we have to live. We continue to live with it, definitely. But of course, there's a lot of media responsibility that goes along with the acceptance, the unconditional acceptance that the viewer has for, say, televisions or films. There's a responsibility that goes with it. As far as the internet is concerned, most people are of the view that a dialogue, an interaction, and keeping the communication channels open is the solution to sorting things out, to seeing the internet as a tool and not just as something that has enslaved you. Along with media responsibility, one last thing that comes to my mind, there's nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. Shakespeare said this, and I think it holds true even today when we say there's nothing either, the media is neither good nor bad, but thinking makes it so. The thought process, as long as that continues, things will get back in shape. I think with that we'll sign off.